What's up, Sanisa, Superbad Estrada here, and I just want to give a huge special shout out to the relay. Thank you so much for all of the continuous support, and thank you for all of the support during and after and before every single fight.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. In reference to Senicia Estrada's ring return, which is set to be going down later on this month in July, her opponent has been decided, identified, and goes by the name of Miranda Adkins. And for Miranda Adkins, this is a considerable step up in competition from the kind of girls that she's been fighting. You know that Miranda Adkins, she sports a professional record of 5 wins, 5 knockouts, no losses, right?
Right.
To Senicia Estrada's 18 wins, 7 knockouts, and no losses. So essentially we are talking about a battle of the unbeatens. But don't confuse this battle of the unbeatens with anything semblant to, I don't know, Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois, to where both fighters stand a legitimate chance of beating each other. Wholeheartedly, I can say that this girl, God bless her heart, and her fighting spirit,
which is likely what compelled her to take on this fight.
Put simply, ladies and gentlemen, Miranda Adkins is fish food. Miranda Adkins is dead meat. Miranda Adkins might be unbeaten the way that Senicia is unbeaten.
Senicia's gonna fuck her up.
I mean, if you came here for a breakdown, that's the best one I can give you. Miranda, God bless her, she's not in Senicia's league. Nowhere near.
Just being honest.
Miranda Adkins, she's 5-0, like I previously mentioned. And she's been fighting the kind of fighters you expect a fighter to fight when they've only got 5 professional fights. It's pedestrian level competition.
And there's honestly nothing wrong with that.
I mean, there isn't. This is the bring along process, the process that most fighters undergo once they enter the pro ranks. Not everybody hits the ground running like a Vasyl Lomachenko or a Katie Taylor or a Clarissa Shields or, all these fighters that have extensive amateur backgrounds that allow them to hit the ground running once they go pro. There's nothing wrong with being 5-0 and fighting the kind of fighters that Miranda Adkins has been fighting. She is essentially doing what she's supposed to be doing. But what she's not supposed to be doing is taking such a considerable step up in competition, such a considerable leap. I mean, you can't go from fighting a Shania Ward, a girl who never even won a professional boxing match. You don't fight a girl like that 2 times, then decide that you're going to fight a Senicia Estrada, because if that's what you decide to do, then you're asking for it.
Yeah?
Miranda Adkins even being willing to take on this kind of an opponent, take on this kind of broad step up in competition, it is admirable.
It's ballsy.
But it's also ill-advised.
It's suicide.
I mean, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? You want me to give you false hope? You want me to tell you a bedtime story? A little fairy tale? Is that what you came here for me to do? No, you come here so I can give it to you straight.
Yeah!
I'm giving it to you straight. Miranda Adkins doesn't stand a chance, doesn't have a shot in the dark against Senicia Estrada. Miranda has some experience in other combat disciplines, some experience in the cage, and some experience as a boxer, though not enough to convince me she's anywhere near ready for a fight like this with a fighter like this.
No way.
And at the age of 42 years old, she is 14 years Senicia Estrada's senior. Senicia Estrada, who's got speed, reflexes, combinations, footwork, foot speed, athleticism, ferocity. You see what she did to a former Olympian in Marlon Esparza. So what do you think she's gonna do to a Miranda Adkins? You might be thinking to yourself, well, if this Miranda Adkins girl is so far out of her depth, then why are they staging this fight in the first fucking place? Well, it's been roughly 8 months since Senicia Estrada saw any kind of action. It's been 8 months since she beat her professional rival, Marlon Esparza.
Right.
Here and now, we're coming out of this COVID-19 pandemic. You can't stage big fights. The kind of big fights that Senicia Estrada is ready for, the kind of big fights with world champions, top-level fighters like herself, that might require those fighters to fly here stateside.
Not yet.
I mean, that's just not going to happen right now. So, what this is a little tick-over fight, a tune-up fight, a keep-busy fight, a keep-the-tools-sharp, the machine well-oiled kind of fight against a tick-over kind of opponent, at least under these circumstances.
And that's not even a knock on Miranda.
But there is a very obvious skills gap, there is a very obvious age gap, and none of this bodes very well for Miranda Adkins. So if we're going to be honest with ourselves and each other, this is likely going to end up being one of those fights that decorates Senicia Estrada's highlight reel, her knockout reel. Because I am going with Senicia Estrada to knock out, overwhelm Miranda Adkins. I don't see it any other way.
I can't.
I won't. In all likelihood, this is just a prelude to something perhaps bigger happening for Senicia later on this year. Maybe she challenges one of the reigning world champions in her division towards the end of 2020. But here in July, she's just keeping busy, keeping the tools sharp, and she's likely going to beat the brakes off this girl. Look for Senicia Estrada's ring return, July 24th, on the undercard of Virgil Ortiz versus Samuel Vargas. It's going to be aired on DAZN. As stated, I think that this fight is just a tick over. I think that this is just a prelude to something perhaps bigger happening for Senicia later on this year. Because this right here, this is going to be target practice for Senicia Estrada. In heavyweight news, Tyson Fury had this to say. He says, Joshua refused to fight Wilder twice, scared of being chinned. He was quoted as saying, I have to give it to Wilder. He has got bottle. He wanted to fight the best. When I was out of the ring, retired, he tried to fight Joshua twice. It was going on for ages. We all know that, Fury told IFL TV. They offered him $80 million for a 2-fight deal, and I know a few people who saw proof of funds. People who I definitely trust, and he refused it. I don't think they're going to get any bigger paydays than that. They refused it because they're scared of getting chinned by the Bronze Bomber. Now, where Tyson Fury says that he doesn't think Anthony Joshua is ever going to get a bigger payday than that, he already has. Twice. That's right. 2 times. In May of 2018, he signed a $100 million Sky Sports exclusivity contract worth more than the alleged $80 million he was offered to fight Deontay Wilder. An offer which didn't seem to be much more than an email. And you know what? We've covered that to death, so we're not going to do it here. We're not going to do it again.
Okay.
Because what we're addressing here are Tyson Fury's comments as to whether or not Anthony Joshua would ever see that kind of money again, and he has at least 2 times already. In 2018, when he got that $100 million Sky Sports deal, and again ahead of the Andy Ruiz rematch in Saudi Arabia, worth a reported $85 million. So what the hell is Tyson Fury talking about? I mean, is this guy living under a rock?
No, he knows better.
And what he's doing, essentially, is trying to sell you a fight. Trying to sell you his opponent. His opponent, who, for all accounts, he's beaten 2 times already. Essentially, what Tyson Fury is trying to do is talk up Deontay Wilder because he's selling you a rerun. This would be their 3rd outing. And the 2nd fight left little doubts as to what would happen in a 3rd fight. So in order for you to sell that thing, you've got to
Bullshit.
talk up Deontay Wilder like he's king shit.
Baddest man on the planet.
Oh, he's got bottle. So much fucking bottle that he blamed his loss to you, not on you, but his fucking costume.
Because that's how much bottle he's got.
For the last 3 fucking years, whenever Deontay Wilder, now Tyson Fury, has a fight coming up, don't you notice that these guys have got all these things to say about Anthony Joshua? Yet Anthony Joshua doesn't have to mention either of these 2 guys to sell one of his fights, whether it's against Povetkin or Andy Ruiz, or a rematch with Andy Ruiz, or an upcoming title defense against Kubrat Pulev. You won't see Anthony Joshua resorting to these kinds of shyster tactics because the truth is on his side. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder had to come together to score their career-high paydays, whereas Anthony Joshua didn't need either of you to make more money than the both of yous.
Those are the facts.
You don't have to like them. I don't give a shit who you think wins, Joshua versus Fury, or who you thought would have won, Joshua versus Wilder.
Who cares?
Till any of those fucking fights happen, it's immaterial. It's in the air, and it doesn't matter. It's not relevant to this conversation, because this conversation is based in fact, and the fact of the matter is, Fury and Wilder chose each other because neither one of those guys could A-side Anthony Joshua. Neither one of those 2 guys had the kind of leverage they would need to make the kind of money they want to make, get the kind of split that they want to split
with AJ.
With Anthony Joshua. So they chose to fight each other instead. But it's not for lack of trying on Anthony Joshua's part, as offers went out to both Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury from the Anthony Joshua side of things. Did you forget? Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder for the first time in December of 2018. The following month, in 2019, Eddie Hearn makes an offer to Tyson Fury a 60-40 split to lock horns with Anthony Joshua. Now, obviously, Tyson Fury didn't take Eddie up on his offer. What he did do, however, following month, in February, was sign a co-promotional deal with Toprank that jeopardized the Wilder rematch. As a result of signing that deal with Toprank, the rematch with Wilder was delayed.
For 2 fights?
And since the fight was scored a draw, that two-way rematch clause stipulated into their initial contract was canceled. It was null and void, as the outcome of the match didn't have a winner or a loser. No one eligible to activate the rematch clause, thereby freeing up Tyson Fury to have 2 interim fights. A fight with Tom Schwartz and a fight with Otto Wallin. I mean, how do you think Tyson Fury got out of that contract?
That's how.
Essentially, Tyson Fury was free to take up Eddie Hearn on his 60-40 offer to fight Anthony Joshua. And what's he do? He fights Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin.
Okay.
You know, the $100 million DAZN offer made to Wilder, the offer that he turned down, the offer that Tyson Fury has no recollection of, more often than not, that is brought up in conversation. But what's not brought up in conversation is that Tyson Fury was offered a 60-40 split at a time when he was free to take it.
Yeah.
You know what? He didn't fucking take it.
I didn't forget.
Did you? Tyson Fury must have, because this offer made to him by Eddie Hearn, an offer that was made publicly, made headlines. This wasn't behind closed doors. Everybody fucking knew about it. And if you wanted to call his bluff, you would have at least investigated it. You would have at least took him up on his offer. But what did you do? You went over to Toprank. You fought Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin. There's a 60-40 split on the table for you, and what do? You fight Tom Schwartz. If Anthony Joshua is every bit the chinny dasa that Tyson Fury would have you believe he is, why is it that he didn't decide to fight Anthony Joshua ahead of his comeback instead of Deontay Wilder? You certainly would have made more money with Joshua than Wilder at that time.
In 2018.
A domestic pay-per-view, a domestic Sky Sports pay-per-view for Tyson Fury would have made him more money with Anthony Joshua in 2018 than that Wilder fight did. You chose to fight Wilder for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not because you think he's the baddest man on the planet. It's not because you think he's so good. It's because, as you said, you fooled Al Heyman into giving you that fight.
Remember?
Those were Tyson Fury's own words ahead of the Wilder fight. He didn't think Wilder was the baddest man on the planet or the best heavyweight in the world. Quite the opposite. He thought he was a skinny basketball player who couldn't box.
Remember?
Wilder and Fury didn't fight each other because they viewed each other as the best in show, the best in the division. Quite the opposite. Tyson Fury didn't think much of Deontay Wilder, and Deontay Wilder didn't think much of Tyson Fury. He thought he was a recovering, mentally broken drug addict. Essentially, you two guys cherry-picked each other.
When you could have fought Anthony Joshua.
And I didn't forget, even if you did. And finally, Bob Arum had this to say. He says, it's very hard to deal with stupidity. Bob Arum says Jarrell Miller will be dropped from his top-ranked contract after positive drug tests. Arum told TalkSport that he believed Miller would receive either a multi-year or a lifetime ban from boxing for testing positive in consecutive years. The Hall of Fame promoter said, we signed the fight. After he had tested positive before the fight with Anthony Joshua, he told me it was his people that did it, that he would be very careful. He would have a special nutritionist, and boom, the same thing happened, and he tested dirty. I think, again, that's a credit to boxing, because once we scheduled him to fight, the Nevada Commission immediately had VADA tested him. In reference to what happened with the Anthony Joshua fight, the first test uncovered performance-enhancing drugs. It's very, very hard to deal with stupidity. Miller was set to face Joshua last June before he tested positive in 3 drug tests in as many days for GW1516, HGH, and EPO. He was replaced by Andy Ruiz, who shook the world by beating Joshua, who got his revenge later in the year. When he tested positive before the Joshua bout, Miller was not licensed by the New York Commission, which allowed him to fall through a loophole which prevented them from suspending him. This time it was different, however, as he was licensed through the Nevada Commission, and Arum says it will be up to them to determine what Miller's punishment will be. The bout with Forrest was set to take place at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas on July 9th, but now he is expected to be banned for several years, with fans and critics calling for a lifetime ban for his second indiscretion. Boxing promoter Eddie Hearn said Miller, 31, was fortunate to have been given a second chance, and says no credible promoter will allow him to fight again. He told behind the gloves. His career's over. I think when you look at it, his career only wasn't over because Top Rank gave him the opportunity to fight and a big contract. You may find a commission that in time will let him fight, but I don't think any credible promoter will ever let him fight again. And this goes back to what I told you guys in a previous video, that even if by some chance, some off chance, Jarrell Miller, even now, could get a boxing license, some commission in some state, maybe somewhere else in the world even.
Right.
No credible promoter will touch him, and that will have the same effect that a lifetime ban would. You'd be deprived of the big fights that would get you the big money, and I certainly don't think Jarrell Miller's in the sport of boxing for recreational activity. He wants big paydays the way that everybody wants big paydays, but now he doesn't have access to the promoters who promote the fighters that would get you the big paydays. So Jarrell Miller, at this point, he might as well bow out and maybe look into bodybuilding, where ped use isn't as frowned upon. Maybe he could have a stint as a WWE guy.
Yeah.
I heard those guys, they're pretty big on performance-enhancing drugs. And in their sport, their profession, I should say, it's actually a part of the job. Everybody's on it. Perhaps Jarrell Miller can find a future in that, because as far as the sport of boxing,
It's a wrap.
his career in it, his career is over. It's over. Unless Jarrell Miller plans on being a part of the fringe world of boxing, fighting for, I don't know, WBF titles.
Right.
On smaller cards, for smaller promotional outfits, for a couple of $1,000s at a time. And that's assuming that a commission would even license him.
Right.
His career, big-time boxing, is over. You hear a lot about how guys sometimes shoot themselves in the foot. Comes to Jarrell Miller, he took a sawed-off shotgun, shoot himself in the foot. It's not often you see a guy fuck himself out of this amount of money. Multi-million-dollar payday with Anthony Joshua? What I imagine was a multi-million-dollar contract with Top Rank.
Wow.
You're pissing in the wind, my friend, and it's getting on your leg.
I mean, if you've got some kind of other way to describe it, a better way, by all means, go ahead, because that's what I see here. Jarrell Miller has effectively compromised his own future through his own transgressions. It's nobody's fault but his. I want to feel sorry for the guy, because it's not looking good. Future's not looking bright at all. It's looking quite bleak. But if it is through Jarrell Miller's own actions. He's got nobody to blame but himself. He could have went in there clean against Anthony Joshua, lost the fight, lost in one-sided fashion, but he still would have been set for life. He still would have got a multi-million-dollar payday. Guess Lowell Icarus flew too close to the sun on wings of GW 1516 and HGH.